What's good? It's a boy Dude Reviews, and today we have got another anime series review, and today we're going to be reviewing Code Geass, Lelouch of the Rebellion, R1 and R2. It's a Japanese anime series created by Sunrise, directed by Goro Taniguchi, and written by Ichihiro Ukauchi, with the original character designs by manga artist group Clamp. Code Geass first ran in Japan on MBS from October 6, 2006, and the series has also been adapted into various manga and light novels with the form of various alternative scenarios from the TV series. And the anime has been really well received over, in terms of critically and financially across the world. And what is this show all about? In an alternative timeline, the world is divided into three superpowers: the Holy Britannia, the Americans also called Britannia, the Chinese Federation, Asia, and the European Union, Europe and Africa, previously known as the Euro Universe, known as the Europea United. The story takes place after the Holy Britannia's empire's conquest of Japan on August 10th, 2010, by means of Britannia's newest weapon on August 10th, 2010. By means of Britannia's newest weapon, the Autonomous Armored Knight or Nightmare Frame. In turn, Britannia effectively strips Japan and its citizens of all rights and freedoms and renames the country Area 11, with its citizens referred to as Elevens. Lelouch V. Britannia is an exiled prince, son of Emperor Charles V. Britannia and his royal consort Marina V. Britannia. Lelouch has a sister, Narnia V. Britannia. Marnie was brutally murdered in the palace, and Nalia, who witnessed the murder of their mother, was so traumatized she lost both her sight and ability to walk. Lelouch is furious with his father, believing his father failed his mother and sister by turning a blind eye to their mother's death and failing to pursue their mother's killer. Lelouch and Nalia are sent as political pawns to Japan to lure the Japanese government into a false sense of security. After the siblings are sent to Japan, Japan is attacked and defeated by Britannia. With the ruins of Japan as a background, Lelouch vows to his Japanese friend Suzaku that he will one day obliterate Britannia as an act of vengeance against his father. 7 years later, Lelouch, now going by the name Lelouch Lamperouge, is now a popular yet withdrawn student at Ashford Academy. Lelouch becomes involved in a terrorist attack and finds a mysterious god called C2, who saves Lelouch's life from the Britannia's royal guard by making a contract with him and granting Lelouch a power known as Geass. This power, also known as the power of kings, allows him to command anyone to do whatever he wants, including bending their will to live, fight or die on his behalf. This power can affect an individual just once and only through direct eye contact. Lelouch decides to use his Geass to find his mother's murderers, destroy the Britannia Empire, and create a better world where Narnia can live happily. In the process, Lelouch becomes Zero, a mass vigilante and the leader of the resistance movement known as the Black Knights, gaining popularity and support among the Japanese on his way towards the rebellion of Britannia. However, this does not come without a cost. Caught up in a conflict where he does not know the full extent of his powers, Lelouch will have to battle many foes, the strongest army in the world, and people he may know and love, and many others in a battle that will forever change the world. And that's where I'm going to stop talking about it, because we'll get into spoilers if I do. And he just wants a world without war, discrimination and injustice. I watched the first episode of the show a few years back and I didn't really like it at all. I wanted it to be darker, but the first episode didn't hook me at all, so I kind of ignored it, So until I started to see how much praise people gave the show, I got the ending of the show spoiled, so I kind of knew the fate of a certain character, And so I watched the entire series, or the second part particularly, knowing who was gonna die, like a particular main character. But I didn't know how it was gonna lead up to that. So I decided to give the entire show a watch, and I watched past episode 1, and OMG, this show is amazing. And when we can talk about positive, there's quite a lot to talk in terms of positives, and yeah, it is amazing. It is like if Death Note and Full Metal Alchemist had a baby together, and it really feels a lot like those two shows, but it's different enough and more original for me to not care too much. Lelouch is possibly one of my favorite main characters in anime. He uses that intelligent brain of his combined with the Geass, and you have a really skillful tactical man. Lelouch is the reason why Lelouch is one of my favorites is because of his descent to, madness. Not madness, but he becomes kind of evil. Like, he kind of becomes the Walter White of anime. He is the Walter White of anime, because he starts off as a good lad, but once he feels like he's in power, he starts to use people to get his own way. But everything all has a cause, because he's doing all of this for his little sister Nalia. He's not doing it for anything else. He just wants his little sister to be safe and happy. And it reminds me of how Walter White wants his children to grow up in a, have a comfortable life and not suffer, and he's doing it for his family. It was always for his family, However, he uses that excuse too many times, and some of the things he does are so extreme and so radical that you just think, is this guy just pure evil? But then a lot of people are killed off, and who are kind of close to him, and they were involved with him, and yeah. Even the other main characters like Suzaku, Colin, C2 are all amazing. The thing I really like about the show is how they deal with the other characters, like the secondary characters. Each character has a reason to live and a reason to do what they have to do. We see like the people on the team of mini spoiler warning. Basically, Lelouch, who is known as Zero, sets up this kind of team. I forgot what the team's called. I'll just call him Zero's team. And you see the characters in Zero's team, and one of them is obviously one of Lelouch's classmates, Colin. And you get to see all these different characters, and you think, oh, these are just normal side characters, but each character has a different reason to do what they're doing, the people on Lucia's team are obviously Japanese, and they obviously want to take down Britannia as well. And you get to see all these different, different sides of like the spectrum, and you get to see the side of like the people in Britannia and what they're thinking, and even the high school students and what they're thinking as well. Like each and every one of them has like a different motivation and a reason to do what they're doing, and it's pretty amazing. The animation for a 2006 anime still holds up today, and I cannot believe this show came out when I was 9 years old. It still looks absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I love the plot of it, and I just like how, even though it's a very fantasy-like, show where they use mecha, like robots and all that, they kind of ground it in reality, and they kind of make it very relatable. Seeing how the Japanese, how much discrimination they get, and it's really it's a lot darker than I expected. When you look at like the poster covers of it, you don't consider it to be that dark, but honestly, this show is flopping dark as frick. Just I'll warn you that it's dark, and there's a lot of scenes where it's like, oh my gosh, oh, I did not expect them to do that. And yeah, I loved it. Absolutely loved it. The voice and soundtrack is amazing. I love it. And the voice acting, and this is where we kind of come to my mixed bag, my mixed aspects. The voice acting for the majority of the characters is possibly pretty decent, particularly Lelouch, Colin, and Suzaku, but Lelouch's little sister has possibly one of the worst voice actresses I have ever heard in anime. It just makes me cringe every time she speaks. Although her acting does get a tad better in R2. And another kind of, I would kind of say it is kind of a negative about this show. And honestly, it is the only thing that kind of, you know, stops me from enjoying the show, and it is the pacing. I don't think the show knows, particularly in R2, the pacing is really quick. And towards the end, when Suzaku, not Suzaku, Lelouch, when he gets closer and closer to his main goal, and we get to see a lot of secrets and lies about his past, and people who were involved in certain situations become exposed. Everything starts to happen really quickly, and it's like we don't have time to absorb what's happening. And the ending of it, I have to admit, just that confrontation before the finale was probably the worst thing to happen, because it happened so fast. And when I mean fast, bloody heck, I mean fast. I didn't even have time to absorb what was happening. Like, come on, my dude. It just happened so quickly. And I really wanted to absorb what was happening in the series. But that's my only gripe with the entire show, to be honest with you. And yeah, it is a surprisingly entertaining series. I definitely recommend a 100% getting it on Blu-ray, and I'll probably rewatch it again in the future. I love the look of the character designs. They have these very strange look to it. Like the proportions are also angular, and like they have very long body proportions, and it's so kind of creepy, to be honest with you. And yeah, it is a really, really, really surprisingly amazing anime. It is definitely one of my favorite animes in a long time, and maybe in the future I'll give it a rewatch. I might watch it in Japanese just to see how the Japanese handled the voice acting. To be honest with you, but yeah, it took me a long time to get into this series, and I will definitely say, do not judge an anime series by its first episode. I judged this show harshly on its first episode, and I gave up. And coming back and rewatching the rest of the series was probably the best decision I ever made. And for that, I'm definitely going to give Code Geass Lelouch of the Rebellion an 8.5 out of 10, and I'm going to give it an A minus. Go check this show right now. I did not want to spoil it at all, because I know people probably seen it, but in case you haven't seen it, I'll let you watch it right now. And yeah, thank you for watching this review. Please like and share this video and comment down below and tell me what is your favorite anime series. But for that, thank you for watching. As always, a boy review signing out.